Hi everyone, so as some of you might remember, a couple months ago I uploaded some videos about Mikhaila Peterson, basically going over all the lies she's made about her carnivore diet, which she calls the lion diet, how she's trying to make money off of people, scamming everybody, lying about her business. But since then, there have been a few new developments. A book was released on Amazon, and Mikhaila Peterson also uploaded a couple new videos to her YouTube channel discussing her diet. So I thought we would review all of this and do an in-depth review of her lion diet. So first off, let's cover this book that was released on Amazon. The book's title was Jordan and Mikhaila Peterson, Our Carnivore Diet, How to Cure Depression and Disease with Meat Only. And the book's cover looks awful. It looks like a 5-year-old put it together in Microsoft Paint. But despite that, I actually thought Mikhaila made this because honestly, given her intelligence, that's what I would expect her to do. I guess the politically correct term would be she's special. And if you also read the Amazon description, it sounds like something Mikhaila Peterson would write. The description says it's basically 11 chapters of pure anecdotes on her diet, which is really all Mikhaila Peterson has ever put together on her blog. So the book seemed legit, and apparently was also #1 new release in toxicology, in the toxicology section of Amazon books. But Mikhaila Peterson cleared everything up on Instagram. She said this was a goof, some troll put this together. Wasn't her. Her father, wasn't responsible for this either. But I think you should be a little embarrassed about this still, Mikhaila. People actually think you're so stupid that you'd put something like this together. I think that says a lot about you and a lot about your ridiculous lion diet. So, I've recently been made aware of this fraudulent book that is being sold on Amazon featuring the likenesses of my daughter and I. And of course, when I first saw this, I was rather upset, as anyone would be. Who wants to get their identity stolen after all? But then, as I took a closer look, I found myself to be rather amused by the intricacies and cleverness of the scam. And of course, as many of you already know, being clever will make you rather popular with the ladies. Of course, you don't have to be particularly clever to impress my daughter, but that's not entirely her fault. You see, when she was a small child, she developed horrible arthritis, where she was unable to walk to school and get an education. And of course, this only worsened my own depression to the point where I couldn't even get up to get outside. And back in those days, there was no meal delivery services like Instacart, so we had to rely on pizza delivery to get our nutrition. But thankfully, our daughter Mikhaila discovered the carnivore diet, so now we only eat the pepperonis off of pizza, and that has done wonders to our health. And Mikhaila also did a Q&A video where she answered some of her viewers' nutrition questions, so we'll just go over that.
How much meat for the refeed? Okay, so if you do extended fasting, I wouldn't recommend having a giant meal unless you have like a digestion that's miraculous. I usually have a small meal and then another small meal. You can I just space it out, like half an hour even between little bits of food helps. Broth is pretty easy. But I can have a steak. Nothing terrible happens, but if I overeat, then my digestion isn't happy. If you do extended fasting. I find if I keep fasting under 40 hours, it's fine. If it's over 40 hours, then I have to be a little more careful on the refeed. Do I need magnesium and potassium supplements for an extended fast or just salt? Test it out. I find I feel better with magnesium and potassium as well, but lots of people just do salt. Test it out.
So here Mikhaila is recommending that some of her followers do extended fasting, which is incredibly irresponsible of her. No one should ever do an extended fast without doctor's supervision because it's extremely dangerous. You can get things like thiamine deficiencies or vitamin B1 deficiencies, which happen very quickly and can cause irreparable brain damage, electrolyte imbalances, and also your heart muscle just withering away. Your heart muscle actually loses muscle mass when you fast. That can cause sudden death. And here Mikhaila is saying that, oh yeah, when you're doing an extended fast, it's up to you if you want to take electrolytes. I prefer it, but it's up to you. Mikhaila, if people get electrolyte imbalances when they're fasting, that can kill them. So maybe instead of saying, oh, it's up to you, maybe you should tell them to go see a doctor about this. And also, refeeding syndrome is a huge issue. If you eat the wrong foods or eat too quickly after a long fast, that can actually kill you. And here again, Mikhaila's saying, oh, well, it's up to you. If you don't, if you want to eat a big meal, okay, try it. But, I prefer smaller meals. Again, this is something that should be discussed with a doctor, not some random idiot online.
Do you recommend a quick transition to carnivore or eliminating food slowly? Depends. If you're really suffering from an autoimmune disorder, I would jump both feet into the lion diet. So that's ruminant meat, salt, and water, not the carnivore diet, which includes other animal products. I would jump into that right away because it'll alleviate your suffering the fastest. You'll go through transition symptoms, diarrhea, cravings, nausea in the first week. Some people get heart palpitations at the beginning. There are a whole bunch of weird symptoms.
Alright, so Mikhaila is admitting that a common symptom that people experience when they go on her diet is heart palpitations. Doesn't that sound wonderful? I really want to start this diet so I can get irregular heartbeats too. Well, that is commonly caused by an electrolyte imbalance. And if you take a look at Mikhaila's diet, we'll get into the details of her diet in just a bit, but she only eats steak, and I plug these numbers into Chronometer, you'll notice that her diet is very low in some electrolytes. She's barely getting any calcium, her magnesium intake is also quite low, and her potassium intake is also rather low. So your diet is inherently nutritionally deficient, and nutrition deficiencies are extremely common on this diet. You've even admitted that many people are getting heart palpitations because they're missing these nutrients. So, not a great start to your diet, Mikhaila.
You can get sodium chloride, you can buy potassium chloride, you can buy magnesium powders, so they're pure. Mix them, have a little bit of that. But I would highly recommend fasting to everybody. I'd highly recommend the lion diet to everybody too.
It just keeps getting dumber and dumber. So she's recommending fasting and the lion diet, but at the same time, you have to take a number of electrolyte supplements to make sure your heart doesn't give out and you just collapse dead. Do lions have to do this? When lions go out hunting, do they have to look for potassium and magnesium supplements to make sure they don't die of just heart failure? It's funny how people criticize vegans for taking supplements. All I have to take is B12 and vitamin D. Nothing else. I am taking an iodine supplement currently, but it's not necessary. So just 2 supplements. You have to take, calcium, magnesium, phosphorus, potassium, just to make sure your heart doesn't give out when you're fasting and doing the stupid diet that's deficient in all these things? Ridiculous. And lastly, we have Mikhaila's meal preparation video. She goes over what she eats in a day, so we'll critique that. Unfortunately, she doesn't know how to take her phone and flip it horizontally so that she shoots in landscape mode. So we have a vertical video to work with. Thanks, Mikhaila.
Hi, my name is Mikhaila Peterson. Welcome to my channel. This is a very short video on how to spend approximately 30 seconds a day cooking. This is breakfast, lunch, and dinner, because I'm officially eating once a day. Well, I've been doing it for a while, but I'm still eating once a day.
Alright, so she only eats 1 meal a day currently, and it's only a steak that's, around that big. Well, that would explain why she's uploading these photos to Instagram where she looks so lean and fit. It's because she's not eating anything. If you don't eat anything, obviously you're going to lose weight, you're going to look more fit. So it's funny how she promotes the carnivore diet as this amazing weight loss diet. It turns you into an athlete. No, you're just not eating. All of these transformation photos she shares on Instagram, just take a look at them. They mention that they only eat once or twice a day. They do these really long fasts. They're barely eating anything. So this weight loss benefit you're toting, it's not a benefit of the actual carnivore diet, it's a benefit of not eating. Alright, and I tried to plug these numbers into Chronometer, so I don't know what steak she actually ate here, but I'm guessing this is going to be similar to a T-bone steak with visible fat eaten, and I guessed she's eating roughly 3 FDA serving sizes for that 1 meal. So that equates to 742 calories. Obviously, a woman of her height, weight, activity level, this is going to be a hypocaloric diet. She's eating less calories than she's burning, so this is to lose weight. She's not going to be able to sustain this long term. Eventually, she's going to have to eat more. And you should also keep this in mind when we look at some of the nutrition content of this meal, that when she does start eating more, this will be even more unhealthy. So the first thing that stands out here is this one meal is incredibly high in fat, 51 grams for just the one meal, and 20 grams of that fat is saturated fat. That is a lot of saturated fat for just one meal. That's a lot of saturated fat for just an entire day. So saturated fat, obviously, it's linked to heart disease. Both the review from the American Heart Association and the review from the Scientific Advisory Committee on Nutrition found that saturated fat is unequivocally linked to heart disease. So you definitely want to avoid saturated fat. And what a lot of people don't realize is that meat also contains trans fat. There is 2.3 grams of trans fat in here. And according to a meta-analysis comparing trans fats that were industrially processed and trans fats that come from ruminant animals like beef, they're both about as bad. They both cause negative changes to your lipid profile, increasing LDL cholesterol and decreasing HDL. So it is relatively high in protein, 65.9 grams. Now, typically that would be enough for your average person, but you do have to consider that she's in a hypocaloric state. So relatively speaking, this is a small amount of protein. And when you look at the vitamins and minerals, it's extremely lacking here. So very, very low in thiamine. That might be enough thiamine to avoid severe deficiency, but thiamine deficiencies can be pretty serious. That can cause brain damage, as I mentioned earlier. Low in B12, adequate levels of niacin, again, low in B5. B6 and B12 are adequate, but look at folate, virtually zero folate. Now, folate is especially important for pregnant women who are folate deficient. They can cause their children to have very serious birth defects, so you're looking at like mental retardation, and it's only 5% from this one steak. So if she was only eating steak, and even if she ate enough calories, she would not be getting enough folate to be able to carry a child and have that child be healthy. So if pregnant women follow this diet, they will likely give their children severe birth defects, including mental retardation. There's no vitamin A or vitamin C in here, which is great. Now, this might be an error with Chronometer. There could be a little bit of vitamin A in the steak, but it's going to be very low. Again, biggest sources of vitamin A are going to be high carotenoid vegetables, so you're looking at carrots, sweet potatoes. And vitamin D, vitamin E, and vitamin K, virtually no intake of any of these vitamins. Now, as for vitamin D, this is going to be typical of any diet. Really, I'd recommend everyone just take a vitamin D supplement. Now, vitamin E, vitamin K, again, you can get those from nuts, seeds, vegetables, but she's not eating any of those, so, obviously she's going to be pretty low on the intake of those vitamins. And calcium, so she's barely eating any calcium. The calcium in skeletal muscle tissue is going to be very low, so again, even if she were eating enough calories, she'd be getting very little calcium to begin with, so she should be eating, again, a mix of vegetables, maybe some fortified foods that are fortified with calcium, but she's not doing that. So if she follows this kind of diet long term, she's very likely going to lose bone mineral density, and again, very low in minerals, copper, iron, magnesium. This is because she's barely eating anything. Even if you are eating steak, you are going to be low in iron, and 4.2 milligrams, that might not be low for a man, but she's a menstruating woman, so she's going to need a lot more. Also low in all these electrolytes. Phosphorus is only, again, marginal, and she's only getting adequate intakes of selenium and zinc, so not a nutritionally complete diet at all. And I could keep going on and on about all of the health and practical issues with this diet, but I think you get the idea. It's not nutritionally complete, and Mikhaila herself admits that many people who follow this diet end up suffering symptoms of nutritional deficiency. So it's funny how people make fun of vegans for being nutritionally deficient, not being able to get all the nutrients they need. Well, here you go. Here's a carnivore diet that someone who knows nothing about health or nutrition just came up with to make a quick buck online, and it's a nutritionally deficient diet despite containing animal products. I offered to debate Mikhaila on this topic of, carnivore versus vegan diet nutrition, but she's not interested in a debate, and in fact, in the email, she admitted that she has absolutely no idea of what she's talking about when it comes to health and nutrition. She knows nothing about science. In fact, she doesn't trust science. So I think that should tell you enough about Mikhaila as a person and the efficacy of her diet. And if you like this video, maybe consider supporting me on Patreon or through my website. I have some funding perks you may find interesting. If you're looking for clothing, then check out the Vegan Gains store. If you're looking for online coaching, then check out Quality Gains. He offers customized meal and training programs. And as always, keep making those vegan gains.
Beef. What a relief. When will this poisonous product cease? This is another public service announcement. You can believe it or you can doubt it. Let us begin now with the cow. The way it gets to your plate and how.